Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayana Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya. Om Namah Shivaya. Sarvamangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Om Namo Hanumate Bhayabhanjanaya Sukham Guru Phat Swaha. Om Shri Guru Stotram Akhanda Mangalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Stavaram Jangavam Vyaptam Yat Kinchit Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Shri Sadgurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on the word Brahman or Brahma. What exactly that is, Akshara Brahma, as has been stated on several occasions in the past 3 or 4 days, that the rishis discovered through their meditation, contemplation, humility, their desire to know, their desire to explore and probe the basic question, who am I? This is the first question. Second question is, what is the cause of the universe? What is the cause of all existence? Karana. Second question. And then the third question is, what is the nature of freedom from entanglement? So these types of questions and many others like these were asked because as human beings in the human frame, we have the ability to ask questions. That is called jignasa. Jignasa means we can ask why, the question why something is happening, how it is happening. I can ask the question, who am I? I can think about what is this world, this jagat, what is the nature of this outside world. These kinds of abilities are present in the human brain, in the human mind, in the human framework. So over thousands and thousands and thousands of years of human civilization, there has been further and further probing and development along these lines. And whatever has been discovered, has been studied, it was recorded. So as far as the Sanatana Dharma tradition goes, this discovery of who am I, what is the world, what is the cause of the world, what is the cause of all causes, this was discovered in meditation, dhyana. There's no other way actually to discover this from a research point of view other than taking an internal approach. You can take an external approach, as I mentioned before, but the external approach can only go so far. We can see in today's world the scientific development that has occurred up to this point. It's come to almost as a point where they don't know what to do next. Yes, you can have this subatomic particle research. Okay, then what? There's a limit to that. There seems to be some limit that you cannot do something more. Even if you try to do something more, you wind up, it's very difficult to keep probing further. So even things like millions of galaxies have been discovered by the Hubble Space Telescope and other telescopes. But then what? Even after you see all that is there, then what? So there is a certain limit perhaps to how far we can go with science. Maybe not, maybe, but we have to look at that. But there's no limit to where we can go internally. And that's the big difference. Taking an internal journey into the realization of who am I, what am I, what is my actual nature, that requires investigation, patience, and a systematic approach to realize that truth. So in the Sanatana Dharma, as I have mentioned before, and I'm just giving just a quick outline and summary, that the rishis took this approach and they experimented with the inner world again and again, going into caves, going into mountains, going into isolated places, seeing the nature of the world. They were researchers. Now, through this research, they discovered the recesses of the mind, the deeper recesses of the mind. And from there, from the internal journey, through different types of meditation, by synchronizing one's breath, stabilizing the mind, because that's what it is. As I mentioned yesterday, in Vachanamrut, there is this statement that the mind and the Atma are friends. Jeev and the Man. Jeev and Man the Mitrata, in Gujarati language. That the friendship between the two of them is that they are very intimately connected together. If we realize this point. So, all of this type of discovery was made over thousands and thousands of years, that my mind, my thoughts, my inner world, and what is it that I'm seeking in life? With this body, there is a survival instinct. It is called jijivisha. Jijivisha means that I want to live. The desire to sustain one's life. It is, whether it is an ant or a frog or a dog, or it is a cow or an elephant or a tree or human being or any being, any living being, wants to survive and maintain that life that is present here. That survival mechanism, that I want to survive. That mechanism is programmed within the brain. The reward circuitry of the brain, the primitive brain, what is called the triune brain, or the a more primitive brain within us, that has force within it. It's structured in such a way to survive, to maintain the human body. So, why is that even there? That's there because without surviving in the human body, without being able to have food, water, clothing, shelter, the things that we need, we will not be able to probe further and develop ourselves further. Even if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, the same thing is stated there. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And that can be Googled, it's very easy to understand. From the basic needs all the way to self-actualization. He used the word self-actualization. In Sanatana Dharma, we use the word, or we can use the word self-realization. It's the same, it's a similar meaning. Maybe not exactly the same, but similar meaning. So along those lines, again, we are looking at that verse, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, that the Guru is the Param Brahma. The Brahman is Param. The word Brahman or Brahma, it means vast. It means without limit. So, and it is also considered to be unchanging. That is Akshara. Akshara means unchanging. It doesn't change. It's always there. It is without limit. And it is actually consciousness. It is not a material substance, but a spiritual substance. So, what is that spiritual substance? Well, first of all, let's examine what is the material substance. The material substances that we are aware of, they're within the purview of our senses, whatever they are. In chemistry, there is a periodic table of elements. These are all material substances. All of the different forms that we see, the physical manifestation forms that are in our perception, are a combination of those elements in the periodic table. Most of them, if not all of them. So, what is in our perception is what we call material reality or gross reality. Now, that which is spiritual substance, spiritual reality, is much more subtle. It is sukshma. It is very, very subtle. It is subtler than the subtlest and greater than the greatest. It is, and that is Upanishad is saying that it is subtler than the subtlest, greater than the greatest. Anor Aniyan Mahato Mahiyan, like this. There is a certain verse like that. So, how do we approach it? And why should we even approach this? What is the point of trying to gain this Brahma Vidya? Well, we have to examine what we are looking for in life. That each human being, first of all, is looking for stability, steadiness, it's looking for happiness, it's looking for lack of pain. Sukh prapti, dukh nivrutti. Two forces are there. As in Sanskrit we say, when we study Vedanta, there are two basic forces: Sukh Prapti, Dukh Nivrutti. Every human being is trying to do this. Our economy is based on this. Every drive of each human being, everything we do is for these two reasons. We don't want the dukkha in life, and we want the sukha. And we want to minimize the dukkha. So we see that technological development, etc., has happened along those lines. But now if you go further, as I have mentioned many times before, that the sukha, the sukh that is there, has a certain boundary and limitation. And then once you reach a saturation point of experiencing it, there is a demand for some expansion of it, to expand further. Somebody has a $100,000 house, they stay for 5 or 6 years, now they want a $200,000 house. They stay for 2 more years, they want something bigger, something greater, something different. All the time it goes on like this. And it goes on further and further and further and further without any end. And these desires, they keep saturating. So the saturation effect in the material world needs to be recognized. The rishis knew this. In thousands of years back, they also knew what we know, that there is this saturation effect. So they said this saturation effect and an individual pursuing the experiences in the material world further and further and further is not opening the door into something greater. It is just creating a saturation, and they realized it is a mental phenomenon that uses energy, and a person gets more and more bound, more and more stuck, entrapped, and the mind is just revolving around those endless number of desires. They realize this. It's a realization. See, that's why in the Gita, if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, there are verse after verse that talk about this. Vihaya kaman yaha sarvan puman sharati nispruha vitaraga bhaya krodha sitadhirmuniruchyate. Right? So when you are able to transcend desire, and this is a very big thing. Before the Brahman can be realized or any of these ideas, the whole notion is that we must recognize what is our desire and where it is taking us. Because nothing happens without desire, but where is desire taking us? What experience is it providing me? And from that experience, is that experience opening the door into sublime consciousness, into purity, into constant joy? So this is where the word Ananda comes from. The word Ananda means uninterrupted, continuous joy that does not diminish, that increases it further, meaning that it is a constant, pure, sublime state where the mind is brimming with clarity, where the mind is brimming with energy, where there is so much openness internally that one is no longer stuck inside any limitations of space, time, or causality. Kal, karma, maya. These are the things that are binding the individual, and the bondage is the problem. The bondage, it's not that the family is the problem or the external world is the problem or anything like that. It's not a problem. It becomes a bondage for us because of the limitation of the mind. That is the nature of the mind. The mind is such, chitta vritti, it is going to be bound. It's going to be stuck somewhere. There's no choice in this matter. Wherever the mind may have come from, its nature is such upon investigation that it needs support. In Swamini Vato, Gunatitanand Swami, in Gujarati language, he said very, very clearly that the human being cannot remain without support. That the mind, man adhar vagar rahinati shaktu, in Gujarati language. That means it has to have some support. So, yes, do we need support in the material world? We do. We need support from family, we need support from friends, from co-workers. We're all interconnected, interlinked together. So we support each other. That is where the rishis again said, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. That state is actually an intermediate state. That seems like a very big state, and it is. But there are many states beyond that. Vasudeva Kutumbakam, humanity is nowhere even near that idea. We have never been near that idea as such, not in this Kali Yuga. Maybe in other yugas, maybe that is there, but not in this place right now. There are country after country, war after war, division after division, within families also, and then within oneself. Even if you forget all the other divisions, look at just yourself. There are so many internal divisions within oneself. So the rishis said, let me fix my problem. I'm not worried. Other situations will take care of themselves. It's like this. If a person is hungry, if I'm really hungry, I have to feed myself first before I can worry about feeding somebody else. It's like that. In Swamini Vato, another scripture in the Swaminarayan Sampradaya, Gunatitanand Swami again stated, in Gujarati he said, Potana kalyanma drashti barabar rakhi bijano loto joto karu. What does that mean? Even the small kids know this in that Sampradaya. It means that keep attention on your development. But how can you do that if you don't know what is your development? If like Sachin is speaking right now, if Sachin is to say, I want to reach the Brahmic state, or I want to reach God, or I want to please God, or I want to evolve further, I want to develop further in my life, how can I do that if I don't know what is development and what is development for me? How is that possible? So I must first be aware what that development looks like. That is where the Guru Tattva comes in. The great sages of lore and of today, and those who will come, they are showing continuously, again and again, how to develop oneself from the Jiva to the Shiva, from the Jiva to the Brahman. That realization, that path they continuously show again and again, and they come out of compassion. They don't come with any self-interested motive. They don't want anything from anybody. They live a very simple, humble, highly evolved life. Evolved to such an extent they can close their eyes and see infinite universes. Where is the issue of them going somewhere? Well, if you can close your eyes for 5 minutes and see Ananta Koti Brahmand, infinite universes, where is the issue of going somewhere? Yeah, you may go somewhere. It's a minor thing. It means nothing actually. Because they have found the intense link into the infinite from within. Where is the point of running around in this material world? You can go. There are sages who travel throughout the world for the benefit of the people. But they don't need to do that. They can stay in one place, as many rishis have done, many sages have done, and many great souls even today. They stay in one place, live a very simple, utterly simple, but extremely evolved life. And that kind of progress, that is development. True development is that. We think that if I have $1 million, when will I get 10 million? If I have 10 million, when will I get 50? And when I get 50, when will I get 200 million? This is financial example. The same thing is true with other pleasures. Oh, I like this restaurant, let me go to another restaurant. Let me get to this restaurant, let me go to another. Keep jumping from one experience to another. Yes, those experiences are there. But the fact of the matter is that they are all limited. See, again, Swamini Vato, Gunatitanand Swami, his teachings are an extract of all of the scriptures. So I'm just showing them to you in Gujarati language and translating them. He said so beautifully, I'll say it in Gujarati and I'll translate. Vishayanu sukh shanik che, nashvant che, dukhrup che. 3 points. It is temporary. Shanik. Shanik means for the moment. Even if I have the best food dish that I enjoy. Maybe I go to my favorite Indian restaurant or Chinese restaurant or Japanese restaurant or whatever. I say, wow, this is nice. You like it a lot. You enjoy it. Yes, is the experience of enjoyment there? Of course. Of course it is there. One cannot deny that. But that experience of enjoyment, it is shanik, meaning it is temporary. It goes away. It doesn't remain. It's like, oh, I'm enjoying this. Can I just remain in that? If I'm eating pani puri or something like that, can I just eat pani puri for the next 10 years without one after another? No, I cannot. I can only eat maybe 2 plates, maybe 3 plates, maybe 4 plates. And then what? Then I'll get sick afterwards. So Vishayanu Sukh, meaning what? That the Sukha, that the experience of the Vishaya is temporary, shanik. Point number 1. Number 2 is that it is fleeting, nashvant. It goes away. You cannot keep maintaining that. It comes for some time, it's going to go. Even if you, after eating 3 plates of the pani puri, bhel puri, something like that, you said, I don't want to see this again for the next 5 years. He said too much. If you start eating too much, you get sick of it actually. You yourself get sick of it. See, this is our own experience. Vishayanu sukh, kshanik se nashvat. And then the third point, as I mentioned, dukhrup. You keep eating, keep going further, it is going to cause pain. This is the problem, or quote, I'm using the word problem, but I don't like that word very much. That is the paristhiti. In Gujarati we say paristhiti, maybe it's a Hindi word also, I don't know. That is a situation of the jiva, of human beings. This is the situation, and the agnan is what? See, we say in the Guru Stotram, Agnanati mirandasya Gnananjana Shalakya. What is Agnan? Agnan is not realizing these three facts, that the Vishaya Sukh is temporary, it is fleeting, and if you run after it, it will cause pain, suffering, dukkha. Not realizing that, or not seeing that clearly, properly, is Agnan. Yes, it doesn't mean you're rejecting all the vishayas. You keep them as needed temporarily, as needed for higher development. That is what Brahma Vidya is all about. If we just want only to run after the vishayas, 99% of the people in the world are doing only that. They're not doing anything else. They're doing only these three things, that they're running after the experiences of the senses and trying to expand them further, thinking that is a doorway to open, that is how the doorway will open into pure joy, or into ananda, because it is a search for uninterrupted joy. Hence, there needs to be the proper bridge between the experiences of the material world, and then realizing that they have a certain boundary around them. So then the energy that is utilized in experiencing them, to some extent, even that experience, if it is connected with the Brahmic consciousness, with higher consciousness, then that experience is not binding. The experience is actually allowing the individual, it actually supports the sadhaka in realizing the Brahma Vidya. See, this question is asked in Vachanamrut again by Muktanand Swami, where he said Maya is the cause of all problems. But Sajanand Swami Maharaj, he said, no, that is not true. We think Maya is the cause of all problems. Maya is not the cause. Maya will support you in the path towards God, if that's what you want. The energies within Maya are all going to support you if you are aiming towards the Paramatma. But if the aim is not there, then it is going to bind you. It is like that. So these are the basic ideas regarding the foundations. Before anybody can get to the absolute truth, or Akshara Brahman, or the Atma, these words sound very nice. It sounds really great. But the realization is a whole different matter. It is where the individual evolves further and further. And that requires sadhana. Sadhana is necessary to realize the purview of the mind. So again, sadhana, this word sadhana means spiritual practice. Well, what is spiritual practice? Spiritual practice is basically retuning the mind, body, senses. In a way, it's the retuning of them so that they can resonate, so that the realization of the Atma can actually occur. The realization of the Atma is where this entire journey actually evolves into. The realization is that you are living as an enlightened being, as a being that has so much energy evolved, that life is a divine life. It is not a life of limitation anymore. It is not a life of small running after small things. And most importantly, the human ego, it changes its identification. It's identified with the vasanas and the desires and the three bodies. Then it re-identifies, it identifies with the Brahman. So aham jivam, that I am this body, I am this subtle body, I am stuck inside my pleasures and pains and all. That is one type of identification. That's what most people are in. But the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, etc. are teaching us to re-identify that aham brahmasmi, I am the vast Brahman, I am the Akshara Brahman. That's who I am. not this small limited being stuck in the range of limited experience. To be stuck in range of experience, one can see that. One can see what happens there. Eventually more pain occurs, more bondage occurs, and then the cycle of birth and death continues. Now just one or two points from the slide that we're looking at. The Brahman is the absolute truth. So yes, so just a couple of points about this, and we'll go into this tomorrow in more detail. So the word truth in Sanskrit is called Satyam. Satyam, what does that mean? Satyam means that which is real, that which is true, that which is always the case. So the word truth is a good translation for the word Satya. Satya means what is actually the case. And asatya, or any distortion from the actuality, is called asatya. That means it seems like it's real but it's not real. Or we believe that something is real but it's not real. That is called asatya. So Brahman is the absolute truth. It possesses three spiritual qualities. This is how it is described: eternality, knowledge and bliss. That it is always present. It is jnana. The word knowledge here can be translated as jnana. That the purity of wisdom is there. Tremendous wisdom is there. And bliss. The word bliss in this case is not referring to just the pleasurable experiences. Bliss is referring to ananda. So ananda is different from sukh. Sukh dukh is the polarity of the mind. Ananda is beyond that. It is beyond. There's a great joy. There's a great, tremendous realization that occurs as one goes further and further and evolves further and further into the divinity. This is the very interesting thing. Then the second line here is Brahman is the cause of all causes, from whom everything comes, from whom everything is maintained, and into whom everything enters after dissolution. So we talked about Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv. So Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv are also aspects of that Brahman as Ishvaras. And where everything comes and goes. It is the coming and going of existence and experience, right? So the Brahman is this reality. It is the cause of all causes. So when our mind evolves into that, now how does it evolve? Through upasana. Whether it is Brahma Vidya, whether it is upasana of the Paramatma, however the upasana is done, it needs to be done where the mind is seeking God. Dheyo Narayano Hari, that I want that realization. These small experiences, as powerful as they are, as intense as they are, as exciting as they are limited. So they can be experienced, and that's fine. But then those who are interested in evolving further beyond them, that is what the Brahma Vidya is for. Otherwise, the life goes on. It just goes on. It comes and goes. People are coming and going, right? So that's how that is. So with lots of prayers to all the great sages and incarnations of God and all the evolved beings, we will continue this tomorrow.